lot to talk about, but before we get into anything, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. And right now, you can comment throughout the show, right? Comment down a question you have. We'll answer it. We're always engaging. And yeah, so let's start it off with the NBA, right? Will's favorite sport. Yesterday, Draymond Green, he was visibly upset, but not at the Warriors. He was upset at the NBA for the way that they've been treating their players, especially in trade negotiations. So, Jake, let me ask you this. Is Draymond Green in the wrong for being upset with the NBA? Talk to me.
Well, the NBA is always it's always been the players' league, right? The NFL, the players almost have they have no leverage. They don't run the league, and obviously same in baseball. There's 5 baseball players on the planet that are able to market themselves. So the NBA is always known as the players' league. So Draymond is like, all right, I don't care if I get fined because the maximum they can fine me is what, 10, 20K. I'll go after Adam Silver. I don't really care. But he was mad mostly because he doesn't like when teams so he's upset that a player can't publicly ask for a trade, but then the team goes public and says, okay, we're going to trade this player and we're not going to let him play because if he gets injured, then he's not worth anything and then we're stuck with him. So that, teams sitting players, I get. I don't like it. I think you're an American. You get paid. You go do your job every single day, just like all of us do. But Draymond Green, I don't think he's wrong. I think that players should be able to speak their minds, but no, I don't think he's wrong. I think players, because they have leverage in the NBA, they're able to do this. They're able to kind of pick where they want to go, even if they're still under contract. And the way that teams normally go about this, I don't necessarily like. So yeah, I don't think he's in the wrong. Do I 100% fully agree with him? No, but he's kind of on the right track to what's wrong with how players and teams talk and communicate with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is it's not necessarily a shot at teams per se. A lot of the examples he mentioned were regarding teams, but it's really just a shot at the reaction from people when it comes to a team going out and putting a player really on the trading block and visibly doing that out on social media and such. And then versus a player, as he mentioned, James Harden, who is an NBA superstar. So it is different. So I don't necessarily agree with the examples, every example that he brought up, but the message I completely agree with. And this is what I love about a guy like Draymond Green is he's a guy who he has an ability to read what's going on, but he can also just come out and just be completely honest because he is a no BS kind of guy. And you see that on the court, the way he plays and his leadership style on the court. And you see it, in a press conference like last night. And he's just the kind of guy that I honestly I just love this, especially coming from him. And look, I've seen people say that oh, he's a millionaire, so why should he really be concerned? But I mean, the owners who he complained about are billionaires, and the teams generate billions of dollars. So money has nothing to do with this issue at all. But look, it's player versus team. And you mentioned it, Jake, that this is a star-driven league. It's the NBA, and players do have more leverage for good and bad. And I think when it comes to this case, you can kind of see the negative consequences, because too often we can criticize players for not giving their all for an organization. When an organization can't support a player, like a la LeBron James in his first day in Cleveland, or Kevin Garnett with the Timberwolves, or even Karl Anthony Towns now with the Timberwolves, we don't really criticize or really look bad on an organization until we see years and years and years of just incompetence, like we've seen with the Timberwolves or the Cavs with LeBron back in the early 2000s, or even an organization like the Kings or the Suns up until now, versus a player, which if a player just has one bad game and just drops the ball in the playoffs, we're already going to criticize them. Look,
real quick
consequences to it. But I really like the fact that Green is highlighting just the ultimate hypocrisy of how, sometimes the media and just the big media per se can treat a star player versus just a team.
Yeah. So just to come at this from a different angle, we obviously know the big names, the LeBron Jameses, the Anthony Davises, the Kevin Durants. We know that they're allowed to speak their mind because they've worked for it. But at what point, say Hassan Whiteside or at what point do we say, okay, the player shouldn't be able to? Like, that's what I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Like, do they have to be a full-blown star, or should any player be allowed to do that?
Well, I think this is why specifically Draymond Green is coming out and doing this, because he's representing the players that can't necessarily do this. Because, I mean, Draymond Green is, I still think he's an excellent player in the NBA. I know he doesn't score the ball at all, but he's one of the best passers and defenders in the league. And he's also a voice, more importantly. Like, Draymond Green is in.
Yeah, he's always been a voice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's on social media more because of what he says than honestly highlights from games with him. And it's because he just has such an impactful voice and an impactful stance. And he's one of those players that obviously doesn't have a platform as big as LeBron or even a star like a Kevin Durant or a Kyrie Irving, but it's on that next tier down. And so I think by doing this, he's really representing those players, like you mentioned, like an Andre Drummond. Because if Andre Drummond came in and said this, I don't know if this would necessarily be getting as much attention, or if a player like on a caliber of Andre Drummond or just a role player in the league who's been treated necessarily unfairly, or they feel that they've been treated unfairly, I don't think that they would necessarily be able to have the courage per se to do this. So I think that's why Draymond Green is specifically speaking up.
Exactly. And I mean, just to kind of like segue into our next topic, I think the biggest thing that this really tells us is it shows us that the NBA, as you guys said, is a players league. It's a players driven league. Whereas the NFL, it's not so much a players driven league. Like the NBA here, a perfect case. Draymond Green speaks his mind and the whole media is on his side. There's a lot of times where the media is like, Draymond Green's a nutcase. He shouldn't be saying that about his team. But right now, the media is on his side because they understand this is a players-driven league and the players drive the revenue. So that's, I think, the biggest takeaway from this. But Jake, let's talk about your Lakers, man. I know you're a huge LeBron James fan. Anthony Davis re-aggravated his injury. He's been dealing with an Achilles injury. And as of right now, he'll be out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. They'll reevaluate. But my question is, right now, how long should the Lakers hold out Anthony Davis?
I would take those 2 weeks. I would double it and still not be comfortable seeing Anthony Davis on the floor, because this is a guy who came to LA with these injury problems. He never stayed on the court in New Orleans, and he had 2 things to prove when he came to Los Angeles. Number one was he can be a winner. He proved that in year 1, and yes, a lot of players can prove to be winners when they team up with LeBron James. Number 2 was that he can stay on the court. He can kind of get that baton passed to him and take over the Lakers franchise. Well, that was what we were expecting to happen this season. LeBron taking a backseat role, giving the baton to Anthony Davis. He would take over the franchise and they would try to win 1 or 2 more rings. But now we're stuck with 36-year-old LeBron, who up until Saturday at 10 p.m. was second in the league in minutes at 36 years old. And it is prime Anthony Davis who the training staff is being careful with. Prime Anthony Davis who is getting his minutes restricted. Prime Anthony Davis who's resting when not 100%, but when he should be good to go. And now we're left with Anthony Davis not even 50% and out for multiple weeks. I would sit him until April. He doesn't need reps. He's a top 5 player in the world. I'm not worried about him coming back in a month and a half and being rusty, because he's been in and out of the lineup all year. And he came out yesterday. I think he had a great weekend, a couple really good games, and then came out yesterday and scored 19 points in the first half. They were beating the Nuggets on the road. They looked really good. And now we're left with a team with just LeBron, 36-year-old LeBron, and a bunch of role players. So I'm not worried about the Lakers, but thank God Davis didn't actually tear it, because that'd be really bad. I was getting Kobe flashbacks when he came out and hit those 2 free throws, because that's what Kobe did. That's what Kobe did when he tore his Achilles. He came out, hit both free throws. So that was rough. But thank God he'll only be out for a couple of weeks. I would sit him at double that and then reevaluate him.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis should not play 1 single minute for the Los Angeles Lakers until, number 1, he's 110%, and number 2, I mean, and I would say until late March or early April. I mean, the playoffs start in April, like mid-April. I believe the last game is like April 10th, 12th, around then. I wouldn't play Anthony Davis until April at the very least. His health is the Lakers' number one priority because without Anthony Davis, and this goes for the same with they didn't have LeBron and they just had Anthony Davis, like it doesn't matter. Those two guys, in my opinion, they're equally as valuable right now to the Lakers' success.
Yeah.
So no Anthony Davis, no chance at a championship. It's really as simple as that. He has to be their number one priority from an organizational standpoint. I mean, you trust LeBron James to play well enough to have the Lakers still in a position to be, in a favorable matchup when it comes to in the playoffs. I think LeBron James is still good enough, playing well enough to obviously for the Lakers to be a top 3 seed or just to remain in that like top half of the Western Conference playoff race. But Anthony Davis, he has to be 110% healthy or else there's just no chance. I mean, he's literally a top 5. There's an argument he's a top 3 player in the NBA right now. There's no way the Lakers are winning a championship without Anthony Davis or with, I would say, Anthony Davis being less than 100%. So, and again, I agree with you, Jake, when it comes to who cares about like him needing to play his way into shape for the playoffs. This is too important for the Lakers to be able to like, all right, well, we're going to bring him back with like a month left in the season so he can play his way into shape. No, he's Anthony Davis. He doesn't need that. He's an NBA superstar.
So
Lakers'
this
number one priority is health for Anthony Davis.
This basically what it all comes back to is the whole load management argument, right? I never understood the hate for it. Like Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, I think, okay, I don't care if he plays in the regular season. Right now, this Lakers team, as it's constructed, with Anthony Davis healthy, they have the chemistry. They have the team. They've already won a championship. So there's nothing else you really need to see with this team. So as long as he's healthy, as long as he's in the lineup playing 35 minutes a game, you're good. So as Jake and Will just said, I don't care what it takes. Get him to 110% and then play him.
Yeah, I mean, load management, just a quick point about load management. Like for some players, it's honestly a good thing. Like for everyone, Kawhi Leonard, for Joel Embiid, for Anthony Davis, because those are players that have minor injuries all the time. I mean, Joel Embiid's been like playing a game, then resting a game. Russell Westbrook's been doing the same all season for my Wizards. But like load management for some players, it's like a little bit much, but I would say I really don't have a problem. I think the whole issue hasn't really come up too much mainly because this is a COVID year. And so it's just a weird year in general, but I've never really had too much of an issue with load management, especially when it comes to players that are more prone to injuries. And Anthony Davis is one of those players.
Yeah. That's like, for me, it's the biggest thing is like, it's more of like the old heads, right? They're like, oh, well, how come these guys are doing this and Michael Jordan never did this or he never did this? Like, no, there's a difference. These guys are looking out for their careers. And right now, the only thing Anthony Davis and this Lakers team gives a damn about is winning a championship. So there should be I don't think there hasn't been any backlash, but there damn well shouldn't be any backlash for Anthony Davis and this Lakers team resting him here. So I think
backlash. What backlash? He's injured.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying rushing him back.
Well, but the last time they rushed him back, look what happened. We're in this situation right now. Anthony Davis shouldn't have played last night.
Yeah, and it's like played. Kevin Durant in the finals. Obviously, they had no
the finals.
Yeah, but you got to look out.
It was also a different injury too. It was a different injury.
Yes, yeah. I would, but I mean, after you literally said it, Jake, like I thought that he tore his Achilles. I was scared, man. I was scared for them Lakers fans. But what were you gonna say?
And I just want to point that out because even though it's not torn, an Achilles injury is more damaging than a knee injury for a big man. Like that, like it doesn't matter if it's torn or not. Like obviously a torn ACL is worse than a strained Achilles, but a strained knee versus a strained Achilles, Dr. Circus in the house, is worse for a big man. Because like go back to the last 5 spotlight big men Achilles injuries. I think the last one was DeMarcus Cousins. And DeMarcus Cousins is still like 31 years old. Like he should be in his prime right now. And he's been flip-flopping teams back and forth. He was cut by the Lakers last year because he was injured, tore his ACL, and hasn't been the same player since he tore his Achilles in New Orleans.
Yeah, that pretty much sounds like the consensus. But Dr. Circus, let's talk a little bit about LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball was the number 3 overall pick in this past year's draft. We're going to talk about, should he have been? Should he have been the number 3, or should he have gone number 1? Right now, he's the front runner to win the NBA Rookie of the Year. So I'm going to ask you guys this. With the way LaMelo Ball is playing right now, with the publicity he's bringing to his team, should he have been the number 1 overall pick? Will, let me know.
So I would say no, he shouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick. And the reason is because Anthony Edwards, I think, was a better player for the Timberwolves situation right now, because D'Angelo Russell and LaMelo Ball isn't exactly a great fit. I mean, they both are kind of like LaMelo Ball's game in a way kind of can remind me of D'Angelo Russell at times. They just play a little bit too similar for them to be on the same team, in my opinion. But I will say this, he should have gone number 2. Like, in my opinion, the Golden State Warriors, they screwed up drafting James Wiseman. I understand James Wiseman positionally. Yeah, you kind of need a center, but the Golden State Warriors dynasty was built on small ball, not on centers, on all-star caliber centers. They've always relied on role players at that position. Andrew Bogut, Festus Ezeli, when they were making their runs. And I mean, it was the lineup of death. That's what got them there, with putting in small ball, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green being that small ball 5. They don't need a center. They should have drafted LaMelo Ball. Number 1, you'd be a great fit with Steph Curry. Don't let anyone tell you that he wouldn't be. Steph Curry can play off ball anytime he wants to, and LaMelo Ball could control play, and they could just do it. They can alternate on that. LaMelo Ball has been really good off the ball as well when it comes to his scoring. So no, he shouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick, although I do think LaMelo Ball is the best player in the draft. It's just that for the Timberwolves situation, they should have drafted Anthony Edwards, because I think Anthony Edwards has star potential as well. And the last thing I'll say about LaMelo Ball is I truly believe that LaMelo Ball's ceiling, I believe, is a superstar basketball player. And I don't think that should necessarily be the expectation for him. Expectation, I would say, perennial all-star level player. But I seriously think that this dude has superstar potential. I mean, he's already one of like the best playmakers in the league, and he's 19 years old. And he already has like range. He can already shoot 30+ feet from the 3-point line. Now his shot's a little inconsistent. Like sometimes he'll be shooting like 40%, like 50% from 3 in like a 10-game span. Sometimes he can shoot like 20% from 3 in a 10-game span. So, but I'll bet on that consistency because he has the ability. But LaMelo Ball, I believe he has superstar talent, and I think the Warriors screwed up because I don't think James Wiseman has the ceiling that LaMelo Ball does.
Jake.
I didn't have a problem with who went number 1 because, I think Edwards was a better fit. He's more athletic. He can do what the Timberwolves wanted him to do, kind of replacing what Andrew Wiggins did, like an athletic wing player who at times can shoot. And I'm not an NBA scout, but the fact that LaMelo Ball was not deemed as the consensus number 1 player in the draft because people were scared of his last name, I think that was the reason. Like Ever since the 3 brothers were kids, everybody knew LaMelo was the best. Like, LaMelo was always better than Lonzo. When you scale it, obviously Lonzo's 3-4 years older. But LaMelo was and I grew up 20 minutes from them. I went to multiple of their games, and the talk around that school. I'll go up top. The talk
I mean,
around
you're
that
talking
school,
right now, Jake. I figured. I mean, you're complaining last show, so give you a little time up top.
But the talk around that school was always that LaMelo was the best, and Lonzo was deemed as an elite prospect. Obviously, he hasn't turned out to that, but LaMelo was such a good prospect. He could do everything. Lonzo couldn't do everything. LaMelo can do pretty much everything, and I had a problem with Luka not being deemed as the best player in the draft. Where that turned out. But he should have gone number 1. Luka should have gone number 1. LaMelo was never going to go number 1 because of the fit. But LaMelo was the best player in the draft, in my opinion. And I mean, let's not downplay Anthony Edwards is having a decent year. Like he's like that. Him and LaMelo are averaging the same amount of points. They're both averaging over 14 points a game. LaMelo is a bit more efficient, but.
Yeah,
so let's not downplay that, but
I want to hear what you guys have to say because my whole thought process, obviously, first off, the NBA, it's a sports league, but it's also entertainment. It's so much more entertainment nowadays. And I mean, when we were looking at LaMelo Ball, the biggest thing I'm like, he is going to bring you jersey sales. he is going to bring your team publicity. Right now, he is bringing the Hornets so much more publicity than if they would, let's say James Wiseman was on their team. So if you're the Golden State Warriors, that's why I was so confused. Pair Steph Curry with LaMelo Ball. Yes, it's maybe not the right fit to build a championship team, but I don't give a damn about fit right now. It's the best player, as we've seen right now. LaMelo Ball, pure talent, is the best player. He's bringing publicity. He's bringing jersey sales. And he's really he's the household name of this draft. Everyone's talking about LaMelo Ball. And that's the one thing I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. I think organizations should, and they do value a bigger name because of the whole business aspect of it.
And also LaMelo Ball, like, I'll admit it, guys, I have watched more Hornets game this year so far in the season, like 20 something games in, than I did all of the last like 2 seasons.
Yes.
And the only reason has been because of LaMelo Ball, because like you said, he's such an entertaining player to watch.
Exactly.
And that's great for the Hornets. But when it comes to another thing with the Warriors is, like, that I didn't mention before, is the Warriors, you do realize they're going to have a post Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green era. And LaMelo Ball is a perfect building piece for the post Steph Curry area for the Warriors. James Wiseman's a building block. He's a guy who you can pair with a franchise level superstar, and you can have success. LaMelo Ball is that franchise superstar. He is that guy, and I just think that they dropped the ball right in the present. Like, it's a bad move for the present, and it's also going to be a bad move for the future, because I think James Wiseman's ceiling is an all-star level player, but even then, I think that's pushing it. LaMelo Ball is going to be an all-star without a doubt. And by watching him play, I don't think you could say that he doesn't have that superstar potential at his ceiling.
Yeah, and I think that we all talked about. I mean, like, yes, maybe the fit wasn't there for the Timberwolves, but the reality is what he's doing right now. He's showing exactly why I think both those teams should have taken him. But
he's already better than his brother, like, right now.
Yes, and that's the thing. That was never the debate, right? It was always LaMelo, as Jake said, was the more talented, pure talent. And maybe people were scared off because, they see he was a high school kid. No, the guy's a pure talent. But let's transition here into the MVP talk, right? We got LeBron James, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, a lot of guys here fighting for the top spot. Will, who is your MVP right now? Is it LeBron James? Tell me who your MVP is right now.
Honestly, I had so last week on the ball last Friday, I said my MVP was Joel Embiid, and since then I believe he has not even played. I believe he didn't play in his last game, and I believe they're actually on a losing streak. The Sixers, I believe.
Yeah.
So now I really honestly don't know who my MVP is. I think it's between obviously Joel Embiid. I think he's still there. Jokic, LeBron, and Curry. Those are the top 4 guys. Maybe Damian Lillard. He's been coming on really strong in the last couple weeks, but that's the top 4. And all I'll say about this is I don't think LeBron has separated himself as of now from those guys. But projecting forward, especially with this Anthony Davis injury, the MVP award is 100% LeBron James is to lose. Like, he has to be the favorite moving forward because of the opportunity that is in front of him. If he can keep the Lakers at a top 3 seed, at least, or even improve that while putting up the production that he is, I mean, like 26, I believe he's putting up 25, 26, and 8 and 8 off. He's shooting like 40% from the 3-point line. That's something we rarely ever see LeBron do. He's only done that once. And I believe that was in his Miami days, and like second or third year in Miami, he put up 40% from the 3-point line. But he's doing it again at 36 years old, which is remarkable. But the fact that he has to be the favorite moving forward because Anthony Davis won't be there, and he'll have that opportunity to frankly carry the Lakers team and put them still in contention to be a top 3 seed or even contend for the 1 seed in the West. And then when it comes to the other guys, I don't know if Jokic and Curry are going to be able to lead their teams to enough wins, which kind of sucks because I've always thought that the MVP award is a little bit too win reliant, because sometimes I just think it's a little bit unfair to some players who don't have as great of situations. This could cancel it out because LeBron James' second best player, Anthony Davis, isn't there. So, but I'm not sure if Jokic or Curry will win enough games for their team. And Joel Embiid, like I just mentioned, is missing games. And there's always the threat of injury with Joel Embiid. That's been his biggest hindrance in his career. So I don't think LeBron has separated himself now, but moving forward, it's 100% his to lose. And I would bet some money that LeBron James will win the MVP.
Jake, LeBron is not top 5 in any of the major statistical categories. How is he the MVP? Well, I'll tell you why he's the MVP, because he, for the first time ever, the narrative MVP is LeBron James's to lose. I thought it was last year. I thought he was the MVP last year. About the fact that he's not top 5 in any category. He's been top 5 in all categories plenty of times and has lost the MVP because a guy named Derrick Rose was the youngest MVP, or a guy named, Westbrook had a bajillion triple-doubles, or Harden scored 35 points a game shooting 27% from the field. But a bunch of times Bron has been robbed from the MVP when leading the league in everything, or being top 5, top 10 in everything.
Please mention, what are those times where LeBron James has been robbed for MVP? Please tell me.
Well, he was robbed D-Rose. I thought he was robbed when Harden won it. Go compare the stats, man. Derrick Rose averaged like 23 points a game. That year wasn't close. That year was LeBron was the best player in the world that year, and he was the MVP.
So if LeBron James was the MVP that year, then why did LeBron James and Chris Bosh themselves say that Derrick Rose deserved to win the MVP? They literally said that with their own words.
I don't care.
Derrick Rose absolutely won that MVP, and let me tell you why. That Derrick Rose team. He had the narrative, but I don't even care about that. And I don't even really care too much about the stats. Let's look at what he was able to do for his team. I know I mentioned that team impact can be a little bit overrated, but that is not the case with what Derrick Rose was able to do. At 22 years old, with Joakim Noah missing, I believe, 20-something games, Carlos Boozer, their third best player, missing some amount of games. Their second, third, and fourth best players were injured for stretches of that year, and he was still able to carry them, I believe, to the league's best record. LeBron James, and not only that, I know LeBron James, gentleman swept him in the playoffs, but the playoffs is irrelevant when it comes to the regular season MVP. Derrick Rose, they were 3-0 or 3 or 4-0 against the Heat that year. Derrick Rose absolutely deserved to win the MVP.
Dude, LeBron averaged 27. LeBron averaged 27, 7, and 8 on 51% shooting, on less shots per game than Derrick Rose, who averaged 24.
Derrick Rose had a better team impact.
They're calling for your head, man. Listen, hold on.
LeBron James deserved to win the MVP last year.
So hold on, real quick.
Category did LeBron James besides
we're not
Giannis in?
Hold on, let's talk about this year. Hold on.
Giannis had more
I'm just trying to give you reasoning why Embiid is not the MVP, because the MVP is not the league's highest scorer. That is the scoring title. So I don't care how many points Embiid is averaging. What?
Yeah. No. So are you confident that without Anthony Davis on his team, is he going to be able to carry his team as he's been playing? Because obviously Anthony Davis, LeBron's the one. I'm not denying LeBron's the one. But without his partner, without his Robin, is he going to be able to keep this up for the rest of this year? And if, let's say, Joel Embiid starts playing in more games, or if Jokic and the Nuggets get up to the 4th seed, why can they not win?
Look, there's a reason why I'm not sitting here and saying that LeBron James is going to an MVP, because I don't know how they're going to use him. He last night he played the least amount of minutes played since January 15th, and I think there was a reason for that. They got down by a lot when AD left the court, and they're like, "All right, LeBron, come in, and you're not gonna play the last couple of minutes." So they could go that route and just not tank, but just not go all out. Take a 3 or 4 seed, like what LeBron's Cavs did the last 2 years he was there, and take that route. Or LeBron can turn it on, play 36 minutes because he's a robot, and not be affected at all when the postseason starts. So he could go that route. If they do that with him, and obviously it's going to be up to LeBron and how he feels, but if they do that, he'll win the MVP. But if they don't, if he averages 31 minutes a game from here on out, they win 55% of their games, finishes the 3 or 4 seed. He might not be the MVP, but right now he is, because Embiid has missed 7 games. LeBron has missed 0 games. Go down the line, and and look at like the minutes played up until Sunday, LeBron was second in the league in minutes. Go down the top 100 of minutes played. The only one who's even close, remotely close to LeBron's age is Chris Paul, who's like 74th in minutes. So what he's doing is ridiculous. They're relying on him more than I think LeBron team has relied upon him in the regular season since those old Cavs days. Like even in his last 4 years in Cleveland, the second stint, they were not relying upon him in the regular season at all. So, but this team is relying upon him a lot more than the Sixers are relying upon Embiid. Embiid's not even playing every single night. He's shooting a career high in threes, not 40%. It has gone down a little bit, but still 38%. That's his career high, or a second career high compared to when he shot 40 third year in Miami. Like he's the best player in the world at 36. And I will say, because someone did put in the comments, he said scoring doesn't matter. Yeah, scoring doesn't matter, but LeBron led Rose in every single stat category, shot better, and although didn't have the better team, LeBron was the better player that year. Like it wasn't even close. The narrative was that D Rose was the youngest player to win it. That's why he won it. Like LeBron was the better player. He had the better season. That's why. But this year specifically, I don't care that
he was a better player than Derrick Rose, obviously. But he didn't have the better season. That's the point.
How? I have the stats right here. Like I literally have the stats.
By a couple points. Derrick Rose's second, third, and fourth best players were injured throughout the course of the season, and he still led them to 60-plus wins and a better seed than the Miami Heat, who had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James all on the same team, and they were all healthy for the regular season. And they also swept that Miami team in the regular season. And in the playoffs, they got like the Miami Heat, I believe, beat the Bulls in 5 in the playoffs. But the playoffs doesn't matter. Look, this is a narrative that I want to dispel right now. There has never been an MVP award. LeBron James has never been robbed for the MVP. So the times
that's just false. LeBron should have 7 MVPs. Like
2017 with James Harden, 2019 with Giannis, and then 11 with Derrick Rose. LeBron didn't deserve to win any of those.
Listen, hold on.
Look, you can't tell me that he's been the best player in the world for 14 years in a row and has won 4 MVPs. That does not make sense.
It's because the MVP isn't based on who the best player is, it's who has the best season.
Okay, well, LeBron had a better season than Derrick Rose.
Real quick, before we start going back, I really want to bring up something that Pranav said. He's our lead NBA analyst. And this is something here at the Right Way Sports that we want to help inform our audience. And I think something like this is something that's key. A lot of times we go based off the narrative, right? The league picks the narrative guy. But right now, like Steph is having a tremendous year. Nikola Jokic is having one of the best offensive seasons in history. Not only is Steph, but so is Jokic. Jokic is averaging, I believe, almost a triple-double, doing exactly what Russell Westbrook is doing, and his efficiency is through the roof. So I think something that we really want to do is make sure you guys understand who's really having a great season. Steph's having a great season. Nikola Jokic is having a great season. And all I'm saying right now, Jake, is I'm not confident that without Anthony Davis by his side, LeBron James is going to be able to carry this team. And if Joel Embiid plays in the games, I think he can win it. So any final thoughts on the MVP discussion? I think we're pretty much all agreed to disagree right now.
My final thoughts are I don't understand how Derrick Rose LeBron deserved it over Derrick Rose when he averaged a bunch of more stats, but Giannis didn't deserve it over LeBron last year when LeBron
led the league in assists at 35 years old.
And
LeBron literally
won more games.
Last year, Giannis is very good at driving the basket and doing this 35 times. He's very good at that. But LeBron took a back seat last year and still led the league in assists and shot 54%.
To win the MVP. Spare me, LeBron fan, Jake, the LeBron fan, that Giannis did not deserve that MVP last year.
He deserved the first one. He deserved the first one.
Player of the year. He scored more. He had more rebounds, and he was a far better. He won the Defensive Player of the Year.
Good for him. Good for him.
Track to win 65 games before the shutdown.
Okay, I mean, Giannis is at best the 7th best player in the world.
Who had a better season?
But he had the better
season. Who had a better season last year? Hold on. like Jake,
I think
listen,
LeBron was the best player. His team was his team better.
who
His
had,
team was close.
hold on, wait, hold on. Who had the better season? Listen, Jake, I was on your side a little bit at the end of last year. Yes, LeBron came on strong at the end of last year.
He did, but that wasn't enough.
Went on that stretch, beat the Bucks, beat the Celtics, beat another team. But who had all around the best season? I'm one of the biggest Giannis haters. I don't think can't do in the playoffs. I've been saying all his whole entire career he can't be the number one, and that's why LeBron won the finals. But there's a difference between MVP award and winning the finals. So Giannis undisputedly had a better year last year than LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, look, the MVP award. It's
wait. So why?
I think the MVP is a flawed award. I really do.
Yes,
of course it's a flawed award.
Yes,
the best player in the world for over a decade and a half has 4 MVPs. Of course, it's the flawed award.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah,
it's but based on the criteria of the MVP, LeBron James has never deserved to win an MVP award that he didn't.
Well, apparently Giannis won last year because he had the best season. Well, how many times did LeBron have the best season? A lot. He had a better season than Derrick Rose.
And Jake, we're not disagreeing with you on that. Like we said, like Pranav was saying, there's a lot of times, a lot of these awards are flawed. Last year, Luka Doncic, I believe, should have won the most improved player, but people aren't going to vote him because, he was already great the year before. Statistically and by every margin, he barely played 2 more minutes a game, but his efficiency went through the roof. He took the Mavericks to a whole another level, and that's something why all these awards are flawed. But the reality is, by the criteria we're going on right now, Giannis had a better season last year. So with that being said, Will, one last thing.
Yeah, my final point would just be, look, I don't deny the fact that LeBron James has been the best player for over a decade. That's just a fact. He has been. And I wouldn't even say it's mainly due to what he does in the regular season, which is great. But it's mainly just because in the playoffs, the dude absolutely goes off. Even if he does lose, he loses to like a super team. So, I mean, you can't fault LeBron for that. But in the regular season, there has never been an award. Honestly, the closest award that LeBron James deserved was actually the 2006 MVP, where Steve Nash won. I honestly think LeBron might have had a better selection than Steve Nash in that year, amongst other guys like Dirk. That's the closest one he deserved, not the one with Derrick Rose, not the one with James Harden, and certainly not the one with Giannis last year.
Yeah, and I think just to really finish that up, we hit all the nails on the head there. It's a flawed award, but in reality, what matters?
You mean when LeBron averaged 32 and didn't win MVP?
Jake, hold on.
I actually forgot about that. I completely forgot about that because Steve Nash won back. He won back to back, right?
Yeah,
Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs.
He didn't deserve the second one.
Well, didn't Kobe average like 35 the year before and not win it, and Nash took it from him?
Yeah, it's a debate. I honestly don't know if Nash really deserved to win either of those, I'll be honest. With the 2006 one, Dirk also led his team to like almost 70 wins that year. I think Dirk deserved it, but I think LeBron was closer than Nash that year, to be honest.
Yeah, so I mean, just like I said, Jake, rings. You're a LeBron fan. You shouldn't be mad. You guys just got a ring. And if Anthony Davis comes back, you guys are in the driver's seat. But let's change up the topics here, right? We were talking NBA. Let's talk a little bit of NFL. We got an NFL draft topic, but right now, JJ Watt. JJ Watt was released by the Houston Texans, and right now, everyone's trying to figure out where is he going? Is it the Bills? Is it the Cardinals? Is it the Steelers? I don't know. Right now, Will Lachlan, tell me, where do you think JJ Watt should go?
I think JJ Watt, and this is in my completely biased opinion, should join his 2 brothers in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I'm a Steelers fan, but frankly, I don't care. Look, do I think he will go to the Steelers? Probably not, just because there's a lot that would need to. I mean, JJ Watt would have to really want to go to Pittsburgh. Like that would have to be his clear number 1 choice for this to work out, just because Steelers cap space is like the Steelers are in cap hell right now. They have the second worst cap situation in the league. Next to obviously the Saints have the worst. Then it's the Steelers. And they also have like over half their starting roster is a free agent this year. So I have my doubts about whether it's going to happen, but man, I really hope that it's going to happen because I mean, a front 7 of JJ Watt, TJ Watt. Probably not Bud Dupree in this case, obviously. Yeah, if the Steelers sign JJ Watt, Bud Dupree is gone. He's probably gone anyways. Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt, that is just absolutely mind-blowing. So, I mean, look, I hope it happens. It would make a great defense in the Steelers, top 3 defense, even better. But I don't think it's going to happen just because I think there are honestly probably better options that just make more sense for him. But just as a Steelers fan, oh man, I really hope it happens. But considering the fact that he hasn't necessarily expressed too much interest in the Steelers yet, reportedly the Browns, which would suck because I mean they're a division rival, but also JJ Watt just would look terrible in the Browns uniform. Like that just looks disgusting in my opinion. But the Packers as well could be a team that I could see it. But man, I hope that he comes to the black and gold and
Jake
and Derek Watt.
Your Bengals, man. Should they go after JJ Watt or what do you thinking?
I mean, Tyler Boyd was out here recruiting, but Will, I have one question for you. So, can JJ Watt throw? Because that's the only type of player the Steelers should be bringing in this offseason is check mark. Can he throw? Check. Let's sign him. No. Out the door you go.
I don't know about. I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen JJ Watt's NFL quarterback mixtape, but you know what?
He does have a rushing. He does have a singular rushing touchdown in his career. He has played running back before in the NFL.
We could use running back. We could use running back. He'd probably be better than James Conner.
There's one perfect match. He's gonna be a Green Bay Packer, I think. Either that or for whatever reason the Browns want him. Sure, go to Cleveland. Whatever. But no, he's from Wisconsin. And look, the whole thing about the brothers, I get, but one of them's a fullback and the other is and might not want all that spotlight coming because TJ Watt's the man there. Like, well, I don't think he'd want his brother coming to take up that spotlight. And JJ Watt might not even be a full-time player if he goes to Pittsburgh because they have Cameron Hayward, they have Stephon Tuitt, and I get that some of those guys rotate and play inside, but so does JJ Watt. So yeah, like that's a lot of bodies on that team. But for the Packers, they need to go all out for Aaron Rodgers. And I'll say this: if JJ Watt becomes a Packer, when they inevitably lose next year, the blame's probably going to go to him because it never goes to Aaron Rodgers. So whichever player the Packers bring in is going to be who gets blamed for when they lose. It's just bound to happen. But if he can suffice that, then he's going to be a Packer. If he doesn't want to get blamed when they lose, then he can go to Pittsburgh.
So brought
Shot
up the
taken
Steelers.
Aaron Rodgers.
We brought up the Steelers, brought up the Packers, brought up the Browns. There's still one team, right? I'm going to say a team right now. I think it's a perfect fit. I think this team. Nope. I wish our boy Tom Brady, but listen,
everyone's just going to join Tom.
There's a team right now that needs a pass rush. There's a team right now that's in the clear Super Bowl window. There's a team that's has a defensive-minded head coach, and that's the Buffalo Bills, right? The Buffalo Bills this offseason, they tried to revamp this defensive line, brought in Mario Addison, drafted AJ Epinesa, didn't really work out, but right now you get rid of Matt Milano, you get rid of Mario Addison, you get rid of Vernon Butler, and you sign JJ Watt. I think right now that gives, because your offense is coming right back. That offense is coming right back. Firepower is still going to be there. Matt Milano's gone, but you still have a first-round pick. That defense, Sean McDermott is the defensive mastermind. Why can't he go to Buffalo? And that gives him the best chance right there. He can be their number one pass rusher. He gets that. And he can compete for a Super Bowl. So let me know you guys' thoughts. Let's hear it. Buffalo Bills, is it a yes?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. I would say I would put the Bills up there probably with the Packers or the Browns. I mean, to me, look, I mentioned the Steelers, but realistically, the Steelers are like not at the top of the list. I would say realistically, he's probably going to go to the Green Bay Packers or the Buffalo Bills. I mean, either team could use him. I mean, JJ Watt on that line with the Smith brothers, or not the Smith brothers, but both Zadarius Smith coming off the edge. That's a really good pass rush, man. Yeah, for the Packers, it's a needed pass rush too because I mean, it just It's defense. I mean, they fired Mike Betton. Thank God for their sakes. Look, if they're going to have another, I think JJ Watt could be a difference maker for a team. Two teams in the Packers and the Bills that came up short in the AFC Championship game. I think JJ Watt could be a difference maker for either of those teams.
Yeah. And so I talked a little bit about the NFL draft. Jake, our NFL draft analyst, big question here, right? Big time question. Looking back on last year's draft class, the 2020 NFL draft class versus this year's 2021 NFL draft class, which class is better? And specifically, let's talk about quarterbacks and receivers, right? I really just want to hammer down QBs and receivers. Both of them are loaded, right? These could potentially be two of the best wide receiver draft classes we've ever seen, right? We're scouting these guys. They are legit. And quarterbacks this year, we could have 5 in the first round. Jake, do you see the 2021 draft class making a push to be better than last year's?
It already is. Based on raw talent, based on the guys who last year had a lot of guys who start day one. And I think this year will too. But based on raw talent, this wide receiver class is skyrocketed over last year's, because I think if you rank the top 6 receivers from the last 2 draft classes, last year had 3 elite guys clear from the pack. This year also has 3. The top 3 are all from this year, in my opinion. Yeah, I would go Smith, Waddle, Chase, whichever order you want. I personally don't know which order I would pick. I still haven't finalized my top 3 yet. Waddle might be 1, Waddle might be 3, Chase might be 1, Chase might be 3. I don't know, but all 3 of them are better than Judy, Ruggs, and Lamb, respectively. Going to quarterbacks.
Whoa.
Daniel's the big Lamb guy. Well, he's not better than. They're not better than. Are they really better than Justin Jefferson? I guess as college.
It's tough. It's tough, right?
As prospects. Well,
yeah.
Okay, and see, like Jake, just to rebut, I'll let you finish. But I think CeeDee Lamb is gonna be a number 1 receiver, and he already is. But I think him and Justin Jefferson, those two, it's gonna be tough. I think one thing that people aren't realizing is how good Jalen Waddle is. Jalen Waddle at the beginning of the season, before he broke his leg or broke his ankle, he was putting up numbers, more yards than Devontae Smith. His yards per catch, he had 25 yards per catch. Devontae Smith had 15, right? They're completely different games, but Jalen Waddle, if people thought Henry Ruggs was good last year, Jalen Waddle is going to be so much better. Continue, Jake.
So going to quarterbacks, and depth-wise, I love the depth last year. The depth is very similar this year. I would probably, I don't know. It's very close, but top of the line receivers, I would give the edge to this year. Also, a lot of high upside guys. Rondale Moore could be wide receiver 8, and he might be a future wide receiver 1 if he stays healthy. So he's got to look out for. Rashad Bateman's the 4th, or probably I have him as wide receiver 5 because I have a guy named Kadarius Toney, and Bateman might end up as the best wide receiver in the draft outside of Chase or Smith. I don't know. There's so many guys who are clumped up together. There's a clear tier 1, and then when you get to that tier 2 is when it really starts to get. I'll say the word is when it starts to get sexy. But going to the quarterbacks, obviously Trevor, Justin Fields. Now Burrow was really weird as a prospect because he only had 1 year. Trevor had 3. Fields had 2, and top of the line guys. This quarterback class is deeper than last year's class. Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason weren't really great prospects. I still think Tua is going to be really, really good. He was quarterback 3 for me last year. I would say the quarterback class top of it last year was probably a little bit better, but when you get the Zach Wilsons, when you add the Mac Jones, when you factor in the upside of Trey Lance, when you realize that Kyle Trask might be okay, I don't think
I'm not a fan, but it doesn't matter. We both aren't fans. I have a bottom
but he's a lot better than quarterback 6 last year. Who was quarterback 6 last year?
Eason.
I think Eason's 5.
From?
I mean, Hurts. Yeah, it might have been Eason, depending where you had Hurts.
Yeah. I think, you're talking about, the biggest thing is, and this is something for those of you who are new to the show, make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys follow us on all our social media platforms. We're talking NFL draft. We're going to have an NFL draft show. Follow us on our Instagram page. We just made a new page, TWSN Scout. Jake's going to post a lot on there. I'm going to post a lot. Our guy Sean is. But what we're trying to do is
this is the first I'm hearing of this.
First
So
news,
that's
I
news.
know
This is news to me. This hypes me up. This is news to
yeah,
me.
and but the biggest thing that we're trying to do is like inform you guys. And the reality is, like Jake was saying, this class has 6 guys that, as much as I don't like Kyle Trask, if he gets in the right system, let's say with the Saints, give him a year, he could be a game managing starting quarterback. Like it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. And something else I want to talk about real quick, Tristan. I love Henry Ruggs, but why Gruden? Let me just explain something to you. Henry Ruggs may not be a number 1 wide receiver, but you know damn well he is an absolute weapon. Here's why. When he is on the field, you see that 4.2 speed. When he is on the field, you send him on a streak and you have to play a safety over top. It scares the living hell out of defensive coordinators. And him as a weapon, I'm not ready to give up on him. I see a lot of Raiders fans seeing CeeDee Lamb, seeing Justin Jefferson, and they're like, why didn't we get them? Henry Ruggs is a weapon for you. So the biggest thing is, like Jake, I know you say this a lot, or I'm pretty sure you say this, scout the traits. Don't scout the traits. And it's I don't know. I hear that a lot. I thought that was you. It's probably Sean, but scout the traits. And also a big thing is, where do these guys land? Like if Mac Jones lands with the Steelers, he has a much better chance of succeeding versus if he lands with the Jets. That's the biggest thing. It's all about the situation. But
yeah, I mean, as a Steelers fan, I don't know how I would feel about that. I really do not know how I feel if the Steelers drafted Mac Jones at 24. But I'll just give my 2 cents on which class is better. I do believe that this class is better. Main reason being depth. I think, and the top of the line is pretty comparable. But like when you factor in, a guy like Penei Sewell, who can be a generational tackle for a team, and also a guy like Kyle Pitts. Like there was not a Kyle Pitts like prospect in last year's class at the tight end position.
Yeah,
I mean, and also just the depth at offensive line, specifically tackle, the corner. Like this is a very strong corner class as well. I think this QB class is better just simply because there's 4 to 5 guys. Could be like franchise quarterbacks versus really 3 guys last year, and even then, like Tua just has those injury problems. With the injury problems, I might trust Fields or even a guy like Zach Wilson because of his upside over a guy like Tua just because of those injury concerns. And I think Lawrence, like when you look at the top, I think Lawrence is the best out of those 2 quarterback class prospects. The wide receiver, I mean, yeah, it's kind of close, but I agree. Like Chase Smith and Waddle, those all 3 guys can all be elite in the NFL, depending obviously on which team they go. But those are 3 potential to be elite guys. And even guys like I see Rashad, like Bateman, you mentioned, and Tony, and even Terrace Marshall. Those guys can go late round 1, early round 2. That's insane value. I mean, if the Chiefs get Kadarius Toney, that would be just absolute. That would be a nightmare. Like that is a doomsday scenario for the NFL if Kadarius Toney dropped to the Kansas City Chiefs.
That should be illegal. Like that should be illegal.
Yeah. They need it. NFL needs Roger Goodell. If you're watching this, please just make a rule that Kadarius Toney cannot get to pick 31 because that would be awful for the rest of the NFL. But look, just to wrap it up, I mean, I think this class is just better, just depth. I mean, the guys you can get from the offensive line in the second round is insane. I think the depth is better in the second, third, even fourth round. The value you can get on a day 2 and day 3. The first round's pretty comparable, but just that depth, it has to put this class above last.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap this up, Aiden said predicting Henry Ruggs to the Raiders was too easy. Predicting Jamar Chase to the Bengals is too easy. I know my guy, Jake, he's ready to log off. He's ready to leave the room right now. We're not doing this right now, but if you guys are new, make sure you guys follow the TWSN Scout page on Instagram. All our scouting content's going to be on there. Breakdowns, all that good stuff. Jake will tell you why he doesn't think Chase is a good fit for the Bengals on there, I'm sure. But let's change it up here. Not much time left, so let's talk about the UFC, right? The UFC, we're missing our guy Max. He'll be on here next week. He's our big UFC guy. But we had a big fight this past weekend. Usman versus Burns. It went 3 rounds. Usman TKO'd him in 3 rounds. Jake, start us off here. What were your thoughts on the fight? Let me know how much respect as we all saw after the fight, Usman was saying, "Give me my damn respect." How much respect does he deserve in the UFC?
Well, that's the word, right? Respect. Apparently, he saw LeBron's press or interview after he won the finals MVP in October and saying, "I want my damn respect too." LeBron had a reason to say that. I don't know why Usman said that. He's widely regarded as a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter on planet Earth. I don't like. He was heavily favored in this fight. Knocked him out in round 3 after losing round 1 and almost getting dropped, or he did get dropped in round 1. Almost got finished in early on in round 1. So like I don't know what respect he's looking for. Everyone knows he's legit. People know he's boring. I think he even knows he's boring. But this was not a boring fight by any stretch of the imagination. Burns made this fight exciting. Usman still did those jabs, but he didn't try for a takedown, which surprised me. Maybe he probably respected Burns' takedown defense and takedown, or just takedown defense as well, which is probably why he didn't really go for a takedown. But Burns made this fight exciting. At the end, the better fighter won. We could really see right in the middle of round 2 that Usman was taking over, and then right when round 3 started, it was all Usman. Usman finished him off within a minute of round 3. So it was Usman's fight. Burns made it fun. The first round was fun. Burns clearly won the first round 10-9, but Usman is like the best in the world. He's going to go on this run. He's going to continue this mega run, and no one can beat him. I don't care if you give Masvidal 2 camps. He's not beating Usman.
Well,
I Usman's my guy, man. I'm a big Usman guy, and I give him all the respect for sure. I mean, he's literally just tied Khabib for like the best start to a career at that weight, and he has I believe he has a record now. He passed George St. Pierre for most wins at 170. So the dude's just a beast. Look, he's boring, but to be honest, he's kind of an oddity in like UFC is so much about entertainment and faces, and Usman, I mean, yeah, he's a face, but he's also, like we said, he's boring. He's like, I could take a nap while watching one of his fights, to be quite frank. So it's pretty remarkable that he's done all of this playing the way he has, considering the sport is so much about entertainment, but Usman is just completely against that. He's an outlier. He does his own thing. He paves his own way, and it works. Like, yeah, he's boring, but it just works. Like, he's only lost 1 fight in his career, and he's defended his title numerous times now. And I think he should just be respected for that, for sure.
Yeah, and hasn't lost. He's undefeated in the UFC. And for me, I consider myself more of a UFC fan than analyst, like our guy Max Marrero. He analyzes the actual fights and everything. But watching that fight, I mean, Jake, you said it. I thought Usman was going to lose right off the bat. Burns hit him, knocked him to the ground, hit him a little bit behind the ear, knocked his equilibrium off, and you can tell he was off. He was shaking, but champions do what champions do. It was just a little funny how after the fight he was saying, "Put some damn respect on my name." Everyone's putting respect on your name. As Jake said, you're a top 5 fighter in the world, pound for pound, one of the best. So this leads me to my next and last topic. Jake, let's talk about Usman versus Masvidal, right? I mean, for our fans out there that don't know, they fought before, but Masvidal took the fight, I believe, on 6 days' notice.
6 days, yeah.
6 days' notice, had to drop 20 pounds. I advise all you guys, search up on YouTube, look up Masvidal camp pre-Usman, and he dropped 20 pounds before that fight, and it was a competitive fight. Usman, obviously, competitive, as in Masvidal didn't get hammered. He didn't get destroyed by the way Burns did. So talk to me. Do you think if you give Masvidal a full camp, Masvidal can win?
It's different because when we were evaluating and previewing this fight with 6 days notice or not, the consensus was that Jorge Masvidal had 2 rounds to take Usman's head off. And after that, it was Usman's fight. And part of that was because Masvidal's stamina was not going to be up to par from where he normally is because he didn't have a full camp. But even with a full camp, he has maybe three rounds to knock him out, and then his stamina will get to him because Usman is just he's that much more dominant. But look, I like the tweet of in 6 days I took your nose because he broke his nose. 3 months I'll take your head. Full camp I'll take your belt. That was very cute and funny. I liked it. I reshared it. I don't hate Jorge Masvidal. He's probably a top 10 favorite fighter of mine. And I don't like Usman either. I do think he's boring, but the respect is there. He's top 5 in the world, and giving Masvidal a full camp does not make the fight any different from where it's still going to be Jorge Masvidal has X amount of time to knock him out before Usman will take over and dominate him, because we saw Masvidal's takedown defense was awful. It not awful. He stopped him two or three times, but Usman dominated the fight, and it's very, very bold to say that it was a close fight when Usman clearly won 50-45, which for the UFC non-fans means he won every single round, clearly.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to rebuttal. I'm just going to say it wasn't a clear fight, right? Mistake on my part. Usman dominated the fight. But what I'm saying is, as you said, we're talking about Masvidal. I'll give him 2 rounds. And why can't he baptize him? Why not? I think give him a full camp. I think he will be ready to go. I'll take him within 2 rounds against Usman. I think it's going to be tough. Usman's the champion, hasn't lost in the UFC, but Masvidal's coming off of a loss, and I think give him that full camp, and we will see what he can really do.
No, I mean, I'll say this. Okay. I think I'll just give my 2 cents here. I think he'll have a better shot this time around because of what we've been talking about with the camp and the amount of time to prepare, obviously. But to me, this is just overall, just looking at this from a bigger perspective. This is a smart move, I think, by Usman to call him out, just because Masvidal, I mean, it basically gives him a reason not to fight, Colby Covington. Because although like this pay-per-view, it's not going to generate probably as much money as the last one did, just because it's a rematch. And I mean, Usman beat him the first time. To me, legacy-wise for Usman, this is going to be probably the love or hate fight, depending on obviously what happens. And when I say love or hate, I mean like from a media and from what we think of Usman. Considering the fact that Masvidal has so many, like such a strong base of fans, like depending on what happens in this fight, we're either gonna it's going to dramatically. I think it would dramatically, if he loses, it would dramatically impact the way we think of Usman overall, just as a character in the UFC currently. But I'll be honest. I mean, I have anticipation for this fight, but I was honestly kind of hoping, just storyline-wise, that we could see Colby Covington versus one of these guys, because I honestly think that would be entertaining, because we've already seen this before. And it's like, yeah, we could see it a second time, but I don't know, man. Like one of these guys versus Colby Covington, I would honestly like to see that more.
Yeah, and just obviously I want to let Jake go. We saw our guy, Malik Wright. We miss you, Malik. Obviously disagreeing here with Jake, and the biggest thing was Usman controlled that fight. Oh, wrong one. Usman controlled that fight, but the reality is, give Masvidal a full camp. I think that's more entertaining. I'm sorry, I think that one's gonna be more entertaining, even though it's a rematch. If you give Masvidal a full fight or full camp, let them beef in the press conferences beforehand. I think that's gonna be entertaining, and I think the build up to this fight, there's so many more storylines about this fight. But Jake, any final thoughts about a potential Usman Masvidal fight?
Yeah. When I meant the takedown, I didn't actually mean he took him down multiple times. I meant that when he just was dominating him against the cage, like you said, and he did not have Masvidal didn't do anything. Like he could not do anything. Usman just overpowered him. It was basically on the ground, but they were up against the cage. Like same thing. Masvidal couldn't get any strikes in, and he didn't do anything. So that's not what and say what you want about stomping the foot. It's a very common tactic when you're up against the cage, and it's a strike. Like he dominated the fight. Like I don't know what else to say. But I will say one more thing. The 6 days does definitely give a reason for a rematch, and I think I would watch a rematch. And I think a lot of other people would as well. I would also like to see Covington fight him again. Like those three are still I think, the top 3 welterweights. So like unless some guy comes from out of nowhere, like they can fight each other all they want for the next year and a half. I don't care. Like no one's taking the belt from Usman. I don't think. I don't think anybody's taking it. But there is a definite reason to give both of those guys a rematch.
Yeah, I think that pretty much does it. Malik, man, we miss you out here, but what a show, right? Covered NBA, covered NFL.
Malik for filling up our comment section late in the show, man.
I know, a little bit late, but no, what a show. If you guys are still following us, thank you. We appreciate it. Appreciate all the comments. Follow us on Instagram, TWSN. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure to download our TWSN mobile app in the App Store. Guys, we have so much content coming out. We have 5 articles coming out a day on Instagram. We're posting all our content. As we said, our TWSN Scout page. We have so much going on here at the Right Way Sports Network. We appreciate you guys for tuning in every Tuesday night. Will, Jake, thank you guys for bringing the energy. Great show. And as always, guys, the show goes on. See you next Tuesday.
I ain't gon' give up the game. I ain't gon' give up the game.